Can you talk about the rule set?
So we're using the angled walls inspired by Karate Combat. Karate Combat do those angled walls.
Those are awesome. You're calling it the alley. That's really, really interesting. So it's like in a pit, I guess, and the angled walls are...
Yeah, so Karate Combat have a square pit. We have a rectangular alley. We like the visual of just, you're in the alley with someone, we both know what goes on in the alley. There's only a couple of things that could go on back there.
What's the second thing? Never mind. I got it.
But why this is brilliant, why the angled walls are brilliant for grappling is because any grappling tournament, this goes without question, goes for IBJJF, ADCC. The reset is one of the most annoying aspects of the sport, and one of the aspects of the sport that some of the sneakier guys take advantage of. There's guys out there that are brilliant at playing the edge. Open, the ref will reset them, or they'll shoot a takedown near the edge. And you might watch, and again, I'm picking on ADCC here, but you might watch an ADCC match where 90 seconds of a 10-minute match is the referee grabbing them, bringing them back to the center, or trying to recreate something of a position that landed outside. Not only is that sort of boring to me, and it sort of could be bias, again, it's happened to me in events where the ref's gone, stop, I've stopped, he's moved a little bit more, and then there's an adjustment in the reset. I mean, it's cheating to a certain extent. It's just more of an annoyance. They bring it back, they reset it to the best of their ability in the center. The angled wall mitigates that. And it mitigates it in such a way that is a disadvantage to be pushed up against the angled wall. You're very easily taken down against the angled wall. You could use a cage like the UFC does or any sort of MMA organization. However, cage wrestling can be slow. You're obviously at the vertical and it can stagnate there. Guys are very good at using split squats to really defend that position. And for me personally, I don't love the cage for grappling. I'd like to differentiate it for grappling. What holds people back from using the alley or a pit-like structure is the viewing angle. Because if you're one of the VIPs or you pay for an expensive seat, that angled wall's above you. A cage you can see into, an elevated platform sort of stage you can see clearly into because it's basically flat, but the athletes could fall off and injure themselves. So if something happens to UFC Fight Pass is the elevated flat stage. It's kind of scary to be near the edge. You go off, you're going to land on concrete. You might want to do that to the other guy if you that way inclined, but the alley, the angled wall solves all those problems. Very minimal referee interference. Again, the only thing that holds people back is the expense of building it. But again, when you're spending someone else's money, you will spare no expense in production. So we've spent a lot of money on the alley, and we've really gone out of our way to create an experience that around the alley, we've elevated everything so that the people watching will be able to see down into it. Because your instinctual thought is, it sounds great, but how am I going to see in it unless I'm far up? Like you'd need like a Colosseum-like structure, which is basically what we've attempted to create so that you get both a perfect place to wrestle, to grapple in, as well as a perfect viewing angle for the fans.
Well, I think it's an amazing idea. What about the jiu-jitsu on a slant? You've triangled somebody on a slant. Is there like some interesting aspects about the actual detailed techniques of how to be effective using a slant?
I'll be honest, I competed for Karate Combat twice. Never once did I ever step foot into the pit. Just, again, like you said before the podcast, if there's a right way of doing things, I'm probably doing the opposite.
The wrong way. I actually no idea why people take advice from you, but they do.
I'm mostly an inspirational speaker at this point. I think.
Yeah. You and Tony Robbins are like this.
Same size at least, but in terms of the training for it, obviously the athlete's very difficult. Some of these guys have gone out there and built their own angled walls.
Yeah, I saw that. There's a cool video of that.
They're getting into that. That's a smart thing to do. There's $1 million on the line. You should probably invest in that. But I also like a new surface that no one's competed on. No one's gamed it yet. No one's like, we're going to see it unfold. Like when UFC, when people started figuring out how to use the cage, we're going to see this unfold in front of our very eyes, how the strategies work for this. The other thing we've done too is we're doing rounds. So qualifying rounds would be 3 5-minute rounds. The final would be 5 5s. Why I want to do that is to incentivize action. We're going to incentivize action through penalizing people. But we really want, I love a short burst, a break, and the guys can go hard again. I don't like a jiu-jitsu match where the guy takes the back early and he's like, oh, if I keep this position, I've won. And that's something that people that don't compete don't realize. Is if you get a good position early, get up on the points, you just sit there and go, oh, let's ride this to the end. That's why I want rounds, so that you might take guys back. You're really incentivized to get that finish. And the way we're trying to grow the sport is to steal the MMA scoring structure, which a lot of people have criticized because they think it's overly complicated. They don't understand it. But to the mass audience, they understand a 10-point must, understand a decision in that sense. They understand it being scored round by round. So we're trying to appeal to a broader audience here. But we think, based on the structure, based on how hard we'll call stalling penalties, based on you wanting to finish your opponent quick to have a better chance at $1 million, because it's 10,001 to show up and $1 million to win. If you ain't first, you're last. There's no reward for second place. So I'm punishing the one position I've only ever been able to achieve in tournaments.